Gold becomes a store of value. Yuan becomes the international medium of exchange. Blockchain becomes a unit of account, ledger, and the multipolar rollout. Well, hello there, my friends. Chris Marcus here with you for Arcadia Economics on Wednesday, May 28th, recording just afternoon here, and have an update today on some of the progress by the BRICS and China in particular on their de-dollarization efforts, which, as you might imagine, whether they are stating them publicly or not to the Western media, are ongoing, especially with everything that's happening in the trade war. And we will touch on that today. But first, a quick look at the pricing where we have rather quiet days so far. Here's gold has been up or down less than $10 for most of the morning session here. And interesting, as I go to the gold ticker, I get a pop-up ad for, is it time to buy or sell Nvidia ahead of earnings? There's their AI report, which I might add, as I have heard before, but am noting and thinking about more in my silver report that I'm writing, that continue to see AI listed as another potentially large growing consumer of physical silver, which currently is trading 33.13, despite being in a deficit for the third year in a row or fifth year in a row if you account for the ETF inflows. But here we have it, mid 30s, as has been the case for a little while now, and dipped down to 32, but this is the 1 month chart. Let's take a look at the 6 month. In fact, let's even go back to 5 years, because here's where our rally began. And then this was by last April. That's when we crossed 30. And we've gone back down to 28, above 35, yet stayed in that range so far. And we shall see. I think a lot will be dictated by the gold price, as well as a whole host of other things that won't dig into all of them today as we stay focused here. Although, in terms of interesting news, as you flip over here to CNBC, Abercrombie and Fitch soars 25%, even as retailers slashes profit outlook due to tariffs. Macy's CEO says retailer will hike some prices as tariff cuts into profits. Although Dick's Sporting Goods stands by their full year guidance, even with tariffs looming, yet you see some of the signs of price increases that are coming. And this is before Jerome Powell enacts what he telegraphed 2 weeks ago. Sometimes I'm wondering, did that really happen? I didn't hear much about it, but we did cover that on the Arcadia Substack, where he basically said, watch out, depending on these conditions, which are all likely to happen, that, oh, we may need to reconsider that 2% mandate that even Paul Volcker
said in the book. My mother would see through that.
And I would also add that I continue to maintain my belief of and also what I'm seeing and hearing, that the trade war has not been resolved. So the longer this is going on, the greater the probability of more significant supply chain disruptions. And we'll see how the U.S. fares in the midst of all of that. Although, as I know you are likely already aware, the House of Representatives passed the big, beautiful bill last week. And let's just say it doesn't seem like the customers are impressed. Obviously, if you listen to gold and silver channels, you've been hearing about that for years. But here's Nick Timiraos of the Wall Street Journal, affectionately known as the Fed Whisperer, for his ability to tell you what the Fed is going to do, or float a trial balloon to see what the reaction is a month or two before they do it. And he says, what we are learning is that there is no material fiscal consolidation. The U.S. will continue to run extremely large deficits as far as the eye can see. He also mentions Fed Governor Chris Waller. Everybody I've talked to in the financial markets, they're staring at the bill and they thought it was going to be much more in terms of fiscal restraint, and they're not necessarily seeing it. And therefore, there's going to be a lot of issuance of treasuries. And in order for them to buy these things, they want it at a lower price and therefore a higher yield. Something that Jerome Powell warned about as well. And also, you can get the opinion of Elon Musk, how he feels about it. And let's play that here.
So, I was like disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, uh, which increases the budget deficit, not doesn't decrease it, and undermines the work that the Doge team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. I mean, like, everything he's done on Doge gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
So even Elon Musk disappointed by what is happening there. Now, of course, as that's happening, you have some great reporting from our dear beloved Vince Lanci, who does our morning markets and metals show, where he had some articles he was quite excited about over the weekend because he was messaging me saying groundbreaking research, and I think he backed up his claim because here posted on May 26th, I think that's a 6 or is that a 5? 25th or 6th. And here this one was from over the weekend and starts gold becomes the store of value, yuan becomes the international medium of exchange, blockchain becomes the unit of account, ledger, and the multipolar rollout. Talks about this year's BRICS Summit, which is coming up in just a little over a month, and how central to that plan is how gold will interface with the yuan as BRICS nations construct a cooperative vault infrastructure designed to spread usage, reduce distrust, and enable sovereign flexibility. The meeting and that network we'll have more about in just a moment. Real agenda is that gold guarantees the system, although BRICS summits often produce a flurry of narratives about multipolarity and economic self-determination. This year's core financial innovation is rooted in the creation of a multi-jurisdictional gold custody network. These vaults already under construction or negotiation in China, Saudi Arabia, Southeast Asia, and Africa represent far more than logistical upgrades. They are the structural backbone of a new settlement system where gold is the primary collateral asset. We've been seeing that happen already, and now you see the infrastructure being built. And he talks about how we've had SWIFT and the dollar, but now, for political and structural reasons, many nations, especially BRICS members, no longer view treasuries as neutral or safe. The demand, therefore, is for a new currency and a new form of collateral, one that is apolitical, finite, and universally recognized. Enter gold. I might add, this follows in line with what the World Bank was saying and what a lot of government institutions in various capacities have also commented on publicly in similar manner. Kenny mentions here gold serving as the store of value, while the yuan functions as the medium of exchange. And then here we get to the 2025 rollout plan, which includes a Saudi-based vault built with Shanghai Gold Exchange participation, allowing for direct yuan to gold conversion from all oil proceeds, vaults in Singapore and Malaysia, vaults in Africa and in the Middle East, and the continued expansion of the Shanghai Vault network, where the gold is allocated separately from the domestic reserves. Obviously, in contrast to that Fort Knox model, which still have yet to hear anything about that audit. And again, that's partly why I played the Elon Musk clip to hear something that was promised and actually took place, and to see that his feelings that it seems to have been discredited, or maybe not discredited, but just ignored when the budget came out to it. We'll see if that happens with Fort Knox. But here, again, an alternate model that does not require that central trust in one institution. Here he mentions blockchain enabling real-time auditing and verification of gold ownership. And the coming announcement where he says, if this year's BRICS Summit does unveil this vault architecture formally, expect it to be framed as a cooperative clearing mechanism. Some expect the name BRICS Clear to be used, more on that in a moment, and it will emphasize the voluntary nature of participation, the neutral qualities of gold, and the role of blockchain for transparency. But beneath the surface, it represents the remonetization of gold.
And the stuff is also quite heavy, as you know.
Not as currency, but as collateral guaranteeing currency validity. Gold isn't replacing fiat currencies, it's replacing what guarantees them, specifically treasuries. Beautifully stated, certainly something we've been talking about and writing about here. And the implications for China reduces its reliance on US treasuries and boosts yuan legitimacy. For Saudi Arabia, offers a safer store of value while maintaining oil exports. Africa and Southeast Asia opens the door to gold-backed infrastructure finance. outside of the IMF. For Russia, it enables trade outside of SWIFT and the EU. And for Western investors, it changes the role of gold from a defensive asset to a systemic one. So that is what Vince is saying we're going to see at this year's meeting. We'll also have to get Matt Riley back on soon, perhaps together with Vince for his perspective. And like I've been saying ever since the summit in Kazan last October, where on a news front it has seemed quiet, although certainly plenty happening behind the scenes. Here he has another piece on the BRICS Global Vaulting Network. And I'll put the link to all of these in the description field below, but mentions how Saudi Arabia is the core, then expanding down into Southeast Asia, Middle East, and Africa. And here he also had an article of how we got from Mbridge to BRICS Pay and introduces BRICS Clear, which he thinks we will be hearing more about. And here, what is BRICS Clear? The new digital payment system built on top of trust minimization goals, but goes further, uses gold as neutral collateral, seeks autonomy from US dollar channels, and focuses on clearing. And what is the relationship between the Mbridge and BRICS Clear? Mbridge is not the foundation of BRICS Clear, it's the technical and conceptual stepping stone that validates the decentralized cross-border settlement, bypasses SWIFT, and has allowed China to move forward doing some of the things that we've been discussing in this video. And then how does BRICS Clear fit in? That's the engine or backbone. BRICS Pay is the dashboard user interface. They work together, but they are not the same thing at all. And here he has BRICS Pay, digital wallet payment layer for people and small businesses. BRICS Clear, the cross-border trade and clearing infrastructure for currencies and commodities that he mentions here, often backed by gold or other collateral. And in terms of an example, imagine a Saudi energy company receives yuan through BRICS Pay for oil exports to India. That yuan is cleared via BRICS Clear, possibly collateralized with gold held in a Singapore or Riyadh vault. And then the consumer level BRICS Pay app is unaware of the gold ledger or interbank settlement, but it rides on the rails that the BRICS Clear mechanism has built. Bottom line, Mbridge was technical and exploratory, rooted in BIS structure. BRICS Clear is geopolitical and strategic, built for real-world application and currency settlement. And BRICS Pay is the user-focused portion of the system. And again, you can find all of these links in the description field below. And I'd also just personally like to give a public thank you to not only to my compadre, who's also become a dear friend in Vince Lanci, but certainly, as you know, has been doing our morning show, especially as I've been doing a little bit more writing and have had some other things that I've been digging into these days and doing a little bit less video than back in the old day, although it's really been fantastic to get Vince on here every day, and hope you're enjoying that. So either case, if you'd like to get access to Vince's research, and certainly if you appreciate what he's doing, and either just want to get emails, all of these out every day, it's actually quite stunning. I remember one day looking through, I'm like, geez, he's essentially created a gold and silver version of Zero Hedge, and truly a lot of stunning information that's there. Great gold and silver news feed. So whether you would like to get the research there, or if you just like to support Vince, if you appreciate his videos in the morning, you can go over to vblgoldfix.substack.com. And with that said, thank you to Vince for being a part of Arcadia, the channel, and everything else that it's become. And thank you at home for tuning in and watching today. Hope this helped to give you an idea of some of the things that you can be on the watch for when that summit does hit. And in case you missed the latest activity in the gold and silver COT reports and those always active bank short positions, well, just click on the video that's coming your way now.